AstraZeneca was the DNA one that caused the blood clots. I've interviewed the guy almost died. I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times. So how do you take this DNA and make it mRNA? What do they do?
Yeah. So, okay. So especially people need to understand when we say in relation to these things, when we say DNA and RNA, it has nothing to do with what is claimed to be human DNA and RNA. Nothing. Think of it as like your car has rubber tires today, right? Those rubber tires don't come from the rubber tree. At some point in the past, they came from the rubber tree. That was the only source of rubber, was rubber tree. And today, they're all synthetic rubber, has nothing to do with the tree, but we still call them rubber. So that's the DNA and RNA that's in those things. It's the synthetic molecules, chemicals that these scientists I make fun of call DNA and RNA. It has nothing to do with humans.
They're not getting it from humans, the DNA?
No. It's synthetically made. So it's a synthetic chemical molecule, which they throw into, so they make this DNA synthetic chemical molecule using synthetic chemistry methods, and they throw it into a vat of E. coli. E. coli is literally shit. Those are the bacteria that make feces. So there's a big vat of this beautiful bacteria called E. coli. They throw these pieces of synthetic material. Those creatures uptake it, they eat it, and then they replicate. They replicate very quickly. So in 24 hours, I think it doubles or something. Anyway, so they eat these pieces of chemicals. They replicate themselves rapidly, and that's how they grow DNA in the lab. Okay, and once they've grown enough of it, so the synthetic,
they grow that. That's what gets distributed to the labs that make the vaccines.
It's the first step. So the DNA, like the DNA molecule that they throw into E. coli vat, is kind of like a negative for the photo, from which then you make a print, which is the RNA, right? And so they grow the DNA volume in this E. coli vat. Then they throw up also in that DNA molecule that they design. The reason it's not human, because it has a whole bunch of features also. Well, it's made synthetically, but it also, in addition to pretending like it has something to do with humans, which it doesn't, they also input into that molecule what's called antibiotic resistant genes. So there's a sequence there that is designed to be resistant to antibiotics, particularly kanamycin and some other mycin, and neomycin and kanamycin. And then because once they've grown enough in E. coli, they need to kill the E. coli. And how do they kill E. coli? With antibiotics. So they throw a whole bunch of antibiotics into this vat to kill the E. coli. The process, not a single step of this manufacturing as I'm describing, is completely clean. So all the in-process materials and everything that was done in the previous steps always ends up in the next step, even though they're saying they're cleaning, they're removing, they're blah, blah, but it's never perfect, never complete. So we have now, going to the next step, we have some E. coli cells that haven't been killed. We have antibiotic resistant genes. We have some antibiotic that's still left over. We have endotoxins, which is E. coli's own excrement, extremely toxic to humans. Wow. And we have all kinds of ethanol and other in-process chemicals that were there. Then it goes to the next step. And the next step, they convert using different enzymes and other chemicals. They convert this DNA molecule into the RNA molecule. The RNA molecule also is not human. It's made synthetically, but also has features that are completely foreign to humans, such as substitution of uridine with pseudouridine, for which Carrico and Weizmann got Nobel Prize. And Robert Malone was very upset because he didn't get the Nobel Prize. He wrote a whole long whining stack about it.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway,
So
my gosh.
so then they so that they make this RNA, then it immediately starts breaking. So because it's very fragile, and it's a very large molecule. The large molecules are unstable; they always break apart. And this one starts breaking almost immediately. Then we have some larger pieces of RNA. Then we have some smaller pieces of RNA. God knows what they do. And then they that's called active ingredient, your RNA, and then they throw it into the cationic lipids and a whole bunch of other chemicals to create the lipid nanoparticle that's supposed to contain all this. Now, again, the lipid nanoparticle is not perfect. They break, there are pieces floating around, they agglomerate. So it's a total mess. It's a total mess, and it has nothing to do with humans again. Nothing to do with DNA, nothing to do with RNA or humankind. Even if it did, even some miraculous reason they've created something that's perfect copy of a human DNA or human RNA, well, guess what? You still can't have that in your body because it's not your DNA and it's not your RNA. It's foreign to you, and it's going to cause the same damage. But this one is now, we just have chemicals on top of chemicals on top of chemicals, and as I said, the lipids are cationic, and so they'll wreck your blood flow.
Obviously.
Oh yeah.
And do all these other things.
Yeah. So that's how they make it. And that's why, and in the end, in addition to that, so all of this is kind of theoretical manufacturing process. It's at the time of the launch on the market, it was nowhere near done to any standard imaginable. So it was very iffy. It wasn't documented. It wasn't characterized. They had no validated methods of assessing each step, assessing quality. It was a huge mess. It still is a mess. Nobody knows how to.
It is a mess, but clever in the fact that it can cause all these things, like what you were saying in the beginning about the toaster in the bathtub, how it just puts roadblocks up in your body. Yet we are constantly telling people, if you're immune compromised, get 10 of these. If you're immune compromised, blah, 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 doing all this. And you're just reminding me that you gave a talk in Europe about this. I'll just play this clip for you. It's a minute long.
And I became very concerned, and I started my own investigation because I recognized my own government was lying to me, and the health officials who I previously trusted and respected were telling outright lies. And so I wanted to find out for myself. They're claiming it's the same product. So we see Janssen, Moderna, and Pfizer. As you can see, there were lots that had almost no adverse events reported. And see, I'm again only looking at serious adverse events and deaths. There were almost no adverse events reported in some lots, and some lots had thousands, and they had hundreds of deaths. And so this is not good manufacturing practice compliant product at all, not even close. Here we have an implemented model of fascism. This is how it's done.
This is actually terrifying, because they got everybody to believe this stuff. Nobody questioned anything. Do you think anybody that took this is going to be, I don't know, how can you say, how do we know if you'll be okay? Everybody you love took it. Right?
Yeah. I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. So some people are probably going to be fine. I hope most people are going to be fine if they took 1 or 2 shots and today they're okay. They don't have any issues with health. I think they'll be fine. I think they just got lucky, and they got, as I said, there was a lot of variability, and that was the first signal that this wasn't compliant with pharmaceutical law.
Like you showed in that shot. I've heard you talk about batches. You buy Advil in one supermarket, you go to the next one, it's going to be the same. Not going to be all like up and down variability.
Right, exactly. So I knew it wasn't good manufacturing practice compliant, and so for some people, it's good news because they probably got blanks.
You think so? That's
because the way it's made, the vials are filled in variable way. but also remember the doses were manually prepared, which is another violation of good manufacturing practices. You're not supposed to do that. The unit as dispensed is supposed to be tested against the label to say like all of these ingredients are in unit as dispensed to the patient. Not like a bit, but each vial was somewhere like 6 shots for Pfizer, and Moderna had larger ones like 12 or 20 shots in one vial. And so that's supposed to be manually like diluted at the vaccination center and manual doses made, and God knows how that was like. So that's complete huge amount of variability introduced right there. So maybe some people,
meaning that somebody poured stuff in vials, people got shot up with
oh,
that.
yeah. So
Right.
all these vials were distributed, and they were labeled 5 or 6 doses per vial. So you had to, and then they give you instructions to the vaccinator. Oh, you need to add this much saline, and then you need to gently like shake it and not shake it very hard, and then prepare each dose by hand at the vaccination center, which includes pharmacies and grocery stores and all these clinics
and the drive-through clinics,
drive-through parking lots, stadiums, like schools, God knows what. So
and who's the training? How are these people trained?
Nobody was
mixing.
trained.
Yeah, no one was trained.
And it was hugely confusing too. They had a gazillion number of different labels, different volumes filled. So somebody had to like go through, and each manufacturer had different things. So it was an enormous amount of confusion on purpose, I think.
Yes, on purpose.
Hide all this damage, and then have a deniable story to say, oh no, they just screwed up at the site. And so anyway, so that introduces so much more variability that my thinking is some people probably got lucky because something got over diluted, or they had like remained there in the vial and it went, so maybe there was some blanks.
Okay.
But some people, some effects are very long term, as we know. Like people are expressing these things.
Oh,
years.
People in wheelchairs, people that lost everything, blood clots. People who are sick every 2 weeks. Even your regular healthy people are coming down with colds, and the colds are knocking them out totally. So there's no doubt. Please, people, you must understand now that this was a complete fraud put upon you for whatever reason. And whatever reason it is, we can't make sense of. I have young people ask me, what do you mean? Like, are they trying to kill us? And I'm like, it looks that way, but I can't tell you why. And I can't even tell you who. I don't even think, we don't even know the name of the people trying to do this. I don't think this is a mistake. Like, people say Klaus Schwab, blah, blah, blah. The people, we don't even know what the hell is going on or what's going on. And never in our life did we ever think that we would be manipulated and tricked this way. Because why would the government do this? Why would our public health officer tell us this and lie? Well, you know what? We can't explain it, but she did. I still can't explain it, but she did. And I can't forget, and this might be totally off topic, but do you believe this whole leak story? That it's leaked out? The lab leak is
no. Yeah. So okay, so but the fact that they switched the story, right, it tells you that they were lying.
They switched the story. You mean when they switched it to say it originated in the States, the Chapel Hill, the university?
Right. Well, they didn't even go that far. But like, you remember, first few years it was naturally evolved virus from wet market, and if you suggested anything else, you would get banned immediately. Right.
I got so abused at work when I was just like, don't you think we should look into this? People were willing to say that it was wet market when that lab was so close. But then, so you don't think, where do you think this came from?
So I, it originated in Fort Detrick. Okay. Like,
Fort Detrick.
I'm pretty sure. But it
which maybe you could tell people what that was, a military base?
It's the U.S. Army bioweapons lab, Fort Detrick, Maryland, and it's been continuously operating, making bioweapons since 1943. Now, it's probably the world's oldest continuously operating bioweapons manufacturing place. Now, so the first story, they were lying. They were lying about the wet market. They were lying about the natural evolution, that it's evolved virus and it jumped to humans, blah blah blah. That was a lie. They were censoring it very heavily. It was propaganda. Then, recently, Trump put up this website saying, now we're telling you the truth. It's lab leak. Okay, it's from Wuhan. Bad China. Now, it's not from Wuhan. I mean, Wuhan did some experiments for them, and NIH paid the money. So, Wuhan can only be blamed for, they got a contract from NIH, and they fulfilled the contract. That's it.
That's it. So we can't say, oh, it was a leak from there.
No,
And
it's not a
Peter
leak.
Daszak story. Peter Daszak, that whole story.
Peter Daszak. That's another diversionary thing. So, but
Okay.
let's not get into that. But anyway, but there was no bioengineered virus. Nothing can be engineered like they're claiming. Okay, so they want that narrative to say, well, yeah, we lied a little bit, but it was justified because it was a very dangerous bioengineered gain-of-function virus, and it's national security, and so we had to go and implement all these measures. So that's how these people are protecting themselves. But there is no such thing as gain-of-function virus. Again, you can synthesize all kinds of molecules in the lab, in the science lab. You can you can design this gain-of-function thing on the computer, and you can attempt to synthesize it using similar methodology as I described with the DNA and 2RNA. And in the lab, you might create something, and you might say, "Oh yeah, I made this virus," but they've never been able to infect anyone with this.
So what? So
much less transmit it from human to human or animal to animal. Even when they have animals in the cage together, nothing transmits. The way they pretend that they transmit viruses in animal studies is by injecting animals, often injecting into the heart, into the brain. So by injection, which so if I made a gain-of-function virus and I infected a bunch of mice with it by injecting them and then killing them, and I claim it's 100% lethal, and now I claim it's going to cause a pandemic. Well, how is it exactly going to cause a pandemic? If you've injected all your mice to show transmission, it doesn't transmit. So nothing can leak. You can open the door of the lab wide open and nothing walks out.
yes.
You can't. It doesn't have legs and it doesn't transmit.
Oh, they sometimes said it was on the hands of somebody with their rubber gloves or something.
Even with hands and stuff,
But
nothing transmits.
Nothing can transmit. But before the vaccine, people were sick with something.
Right.
What was that?
Okay. So they do that. And I was sick too in 22. Yeah. So I know, with classical symptoms, very profound loss of taste and smell. So to me, it said immediately when I had it, it was like, it's a poisoning. Okay, it's a neurological poisoning. So they use some sort of neurotoxin. It could be, one of my theories is it's some sort of a aerosolized set of metals. Because U.S. Army has been using zinc and cadmium sulfide in aerosols for years, for decades, since the 40s and 50s.
You mean in a spray?
In spraying, yes, spraying from different altitudes, from airplanes and from like local and like aerosol. And now they can do it with drones. There are many systems of how you can deploy spraying on subways, in office buildings.
Do you think worldwide we got sprayed?
Yes.
Fascinating interview that she thinks that we got sprayed, and I honestly think she's onto something, because the idea of a leak in a lab when things wouldn't transmit this way, when we have such good hygiene and soap and water, you're trying to tell me that this is transmitted all over the world? I just don't buy it. I see things very differently now. If you want to watch the full interview, please click on the live tab on my channel. You can watch the whole thing from start to finish. And if you got some value out of this video, please leave a like and possibly subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video. And if you got some value out of this video, please leave a like. Make sure you leave a like. You subscribe. Possibly subscribe. That would be wonderful. And I'll catch you in the next video.